Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
I was in the house getting dressed, and my husband was outside doing yard work when suddenly he came in the house and said in a really strange but urgent voice, "Barbara, I have to go to emergency right now. I've cut off my finger." My mind went completely blank. I was discombobulated to a whole new level as I tried to think what to do. He was bleeding profusely. I ran to the ice maker in my refrigerator, put a bunch of ice in a bowl, put water in the bowl, said, "Put your hand in this." He refused. My neighbor, who happened to be outside in her yard, had heard the first screams, was directing me on what to do as I got in the car, got my husband in the car, said, "Hold your hand up," and she was telling me the directions to the closest urgent care, which was by us, and then this other hospital, which somehow I could not process everything she was saying. I was on this weird autopilot as I pulled out of the driveway, drove to the urgent care facility that was closest to us, like 5 minutes away. The place was closed. I went to the next urgent care place that was near there. That place had become an animal hospital. And so I had to go to Baptist South Hospital, which was a little further away, but I knew where it was. But suddenly it started pouring rain. I couldn't even see. Meanwhile, my husband is trying to be cool, and I'm upset because he wouldn't put his hand in the ice water like I told him. So I had to ask my phone Siri directions to get to a hospital that I knew how to get to, but I couldn't get my mind together and it was pouring rain. I couldn't see. So we rushed there. They take him right away. I parked the car and went in and they were taking care of him. This is the first instance where I saw how much of his finger had been cut off because when he said it, my thoughts were he had cut his finger off in the lawnmower or where he was doing, trimming with the trimmer or something. So I get there and it's the tip of his finger. It's like this finger, this half down. Amazingly, the nail was there. They were able to treat him, take care of him, get everything taken care of. And slowly my mind went back, started coming back together. Our pastor came by to check on us, brought us some food with his wife, which was really helpful because I hadn't eaten since the day before. But I was slowly thinking back. We were thanking the Lord so much that we lived in a place where we could get to a facility where he could be taken care of. We were thanking the Lord that we had gotten everything readily available to us. I couldn't even pray at the time. I was like myself, just thinking, "Thank you, Jesus, help me to get this together. Help me, Jesus, help me, Jesus." I did not know what else that I could possibly do. So after we'd gotten everything all settled, I was thinking, how do you handle an emergency? Because sometimes you may have everything prepared, but do your kids know where the first aid kit is? Do you know where the closest urgent care or hospital is? Do you know who to call? What if the neighbor had not been there to help instruct me? These are things that you plan for ahead because when an emergency happens, many times you have to operate on autopilot because your mind just empties out in shock. So, sisters, what are some good tips for ourselves and our children to be prepared and ready to handle Emergencies.
Well, I'll start here because Barbara, when we got your text that said Eric cut off his finger, our first thing was, can it be reattached? Let's hope. But coincidentally, that same day, um, I was looking at, I think it was an Instagram, and don't quote me on this because I look at a lot of social media, but this Instagram post had a recording of a little kid talking to the 911 operator and
I saw
said,
that.
did you see this one?
Yeah,
Okay,
I saw that.
where he said, okay, my daddy is on the floor. And obviously, the operator knew that this was a young child, and he ended up having to get his father a shot with an EpiPen because his father had been stung by a bee,
Mm-hmm.
and he had practiced with him, and he didn't like giving the shot, but the operator kind of guided him through it, and then he says, "Okay, my daddy's up now." Well, this is the thing. The whole point of the story, this child was 3.
Wow.
He was 3. He was calm. He was a little upset, but his father had thought to practice with him. Okay, if this happens, this
Yes.
is what you do. And this is what we do the same way. And, because our kids are grown, sometimes we forget about these things and we have to search back and think, okay, what did you tell your kid? I remember when Sarah was little and we would talk about, okay, if you ever get lost, don't call for
Yes.
mom, call for Cheryl. I
Mm.
said, you always say my name because a lot of kids, especially when they're 3 and 4 years old, they don't know what their parents' names are. They're mommy and daddy. And I said, if I hear mom to this day, I'm turning around. It
Exactly.
Yes.
I
doesn't
do the
matter
same
if
Yes.
thing.
it sounds like a little kid and my little kid is 24 years old, I'm still turning around, because I want to,
Yes.
because that's our instinct is
Instinct.
to
Yes.
Yes.
answer to mom. And so I remember telling her, if you get lost, how to find someone who would help. I said how to find a mom. And the first thing we need to teach our children from the time they are old enough to talk is their names, their addresses, their phone numbers, their parents' names, and how to pick up the phone and call 911. And that's the thing. That should have been your first thing is, okay, I got to call 911. But when, for adults, because we have so much information going through, we're trying to figure out, okay, how do I do this? How do I keep calm? And the first thing we have to do as parents is keep calm. And I don't say make it a game because let them know that this is serious, but they should know that this is who's going to help. Find out where you are. And God bless you if you have a landline because they can pick up exactly where you
Where
are
you
right
are.
away. And
Yeah.
there was just recently there was a story that says like most people, it was the people who had the landline still were over 60. Well, there's a reason for that because you can't always it may take a while, a little bit longer for them to pinpoint where you are if you're on a cell phone. But
Yes.
and that's getting better because location services, but you may not have your location on. So you
Right.
should have not smart 911 on your phone if you do not have a landline. If you have a landline, understand that they will be able to pinpoint, even if they ask, they know where you are. Also, if you hang up and they call you back and you don't pick up, the cops come to your house right then.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yes, they do.
so the first thing we need to teach our children and teach ourselves is not to panic. Is that help
Good.
will be on the way.
Yeah, I think also when situations come up and you don't know, how soon an ambulance may get there. If you have a neighbor, a next door neighbor, they can run to for help. Sometimes dialing 911 is important if they can get to you in time, depending on what the injury is.
Right.
In this situation now, when you sent us the text and said Eric cut off his finger, I thought, cut off his finger. Okay, so it's gonna be like,
Exactly.
So
Yeah, we're calling him Lefty from now on or something.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what I thought too. I didn't even know the extent of the injury until after we had gotten in the emergency room and they said it was the tip, not enough skin to reattach. It would just be infected and that the skin itself will grow back over it. So they weren't even going to do a skin graft. At first they were saying filing down the exposed bone. I'm like, ugh. And so that they can fold over, but they didn't even need to do all of that when he saw the hand surgeon the next day. So, each day made it be less. But that moment of complete fright and disbelief and shock happened because he just came in and it was almost matter of fact the way he said it, but really urgent. Barbara, I have to go to the emergency right now. I've cut off my finger.
and the thing about it though, sometimes you can have an injury and if you look at it, you can go into shock. So, he had to kind of be on automatic pilot and not dwell on, okay, I got blood gushing out of my finger, all that.
Because he cut an artery, so it wouldn't stop bleeding.
Well, not an artery. He probably cut a vein. If it was an
artery. It was an artery.
He would have bled. I'm surprised he didn't bleed out. Well, that's why you have him to hold it up above your heart.
Yeah.
And you should practice knowing where you said something about the first aid kit. Make sure you have one.
At least have Band-Aids.
At least have Band-Aids and gauze.
Yeah.
Gauze and Band-Aids and tape. Yeah.
Sanitary napkins are good. Things that will stop the bleeding. Ice.
Yeah. Know how to do a tourniquet if you need to stop, circulation in an arm or something. If it's like a severe thing.
Oh, even a finger. They put a tourniquet on his finger.
Yes, exactly. All of these things. Unfortunately, and I have to do an aside here that they're teaching because this country is too stupid about gun control, is that they're teaching 7-year-olds how to do injuries and tie tourniquets in case of mass shootings. But that's a whole other aside.
See, the sad thing, they could have been teaching them how to do that for just regular kitchen accidents, which we all should do. And I think everybody in their own household has a responsibility to teach your children as soon as they're old enough to pick up a phone, how to dial 911. Now, because like you were saying, a lot of people don't have landlines. Make sure you have your cell phone. They know how to work that. Make sure that your children, as soon as they know how to talk, can dial 911 because you never know. And I saw another situation where a child had to dial 911. I think their mother was having a heart attack. So, I mean, you have all kinds of situations where, 4, 5, 6-year-olds have had to call paramedics, but their parents coached them how to do it. And so they were able to stay calm and explain. And of course, the 911 person was able to understand it was a child and be patient and keep them calm and help them explain what was happening. So we have to do the school should be teaching some emergency things that they don't. So we have to do it in our homes. Teach your children how to dial 911. Have a neighbor that you can trust if they need to go to a grown person for help. If they can call, sometimes you can't call, or sometimes people don't answer their phone, or all kind of things. Yeah. I mean, have different things that they can do so that if they need to have an adult person there that kind of can help them, there's somebody that you trust. And that's why it's important to have neighbors that you can trust. Because if you can't trust none of your neighbors, you're probably living in the wrong house. You really need to be around people that your children can go to if you're incapacitated, if you're bleeding, if you're unconscious, if you're choking, whatever it is, somebody can do something that they can talk to and they can and will respond to them. But I think also, like you were saying about the first aid kit, people never think about that until they need it, but make sure you know where it is. Don't be shuffling through a drawer when somebody's bleeding. You go, where them bandages? Have things where they belong.
Also, I gotta say this because I would buy these first aid kits, and I would keep them, like I have, a couple in my car and in drawers and things like that. Every once in a while, go through them because I got
Make
lots
sure the
of
stuff is still in there. It's
I
not
got
old.
expired aspirin,
Yeah,
band-aids that fall apart, the stuff is, and so, keep your things up to date. And that's hard for us to do, and we don't think about these things. It's like every few months or so, go through your medicine cabinet and throw out all of those old pills and things that you don't
right,
use, and update your medicine cabinet and your first aid kit at the same time, because we don't even um we don't even think about that. Now, one of our things just say, oh yes, this is another one about secret words and mutual locations to meet, especially if
Yes. There's
fire.
a fire. Yeah. Deborah Smith is
Get,
saying
tell
yes.
your
Have
kids,
secret. Yes. Because
yeah, have them to get out of the house, and where to meet, so that people
yeah.
aren't going back thinking that you're in the house.
right.
Yes.
Maybe it's across the
Get
street.
burned up looking for somebody that's already gone.
That's
Yeah.
already, and don't go back for you know pets, which I'm not sure I
but
wouldn't buy
just
like
try
that,
to get
but
them out when you
Well, you
leave.
know,
get
when we
everybody
lived
out.
Get
when
everybody
when
out.
we were young, we lived next to a
Exactly.
school, and the meeting place was the flagpole in the schoolyard next door. So that was very convenient. But also, we lived on the fifth floor. Your kids have to know how to take the stairs in an emergency. If you live in
Yes.
one of
Do
those
not get an
tall
elevator.
apartment buildings, you're not to take an elevator. And you need to tell your kids that, because they will not think. They may
They
not
won't
even be
know.
old enough to read, don't take the elevator in a fire.
Right.
But they need
Right.
to know how to take the stairs.
Yes. And Deborah also says, which is also good, because we all have those fire extinguishers or the little kitchen things. Make sure those things are updated. These are the
Right.
kinds of things that we don't think about until it's too late, and we realize that fire extinguisher that we bought when we bought the house 20 some years ago, we haven't updated, we haven't looked at it. And
So what happens to a fire extinguisher when it expires? The fluid or whatever
I think
evaporate?
nothing.
I don't
I
know.
think nothing happens. I think it just doesn't work. You know, there's
Oh,
there's a
it
reason for it.
dries
And
up or
actually,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Well, when we lived in an apartment, they would come and put in a fresh fire extinguisher every year.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you have those that you can buy. There's blankets, there's fire blankets, there's all kinds of things. But we need to prepare for our kids from the time they are little. And I think 3 years old, they really are very smart.
They really
They're
are.
really
Yes, they
smart,
are.
and they
And they're
and they
soaking up as much knowledge as you can give them. Their brains are like sponges. I
yes,
remember
yes,
when my grandson was 3, and I just had another grandson who just turned 3. They're always asking you questions. Don't get frustrated with that. Give them answers.
yes,
Yes, give them
yes.
answers. That's the worst thing you can do is shush a child when they're trying to get information. Give them answers as best as you can, as easy to understand for them as you can, because they need to know. If they're asking, then it's something they need to know.
And we're always shushing our kids, and whether it's
Yeah.
about someone who looks different, and so we shush them, or maybe somebody has a disability and we want to and kids want to ask about it, and we shush them because we're embarrassed. you
Or
know
we're feeling uncomfortable and don't know how to answer appropriately.
yes, yes. So get get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be comfortable with
Yes.
answering the uncomfortable. We're never going to get past a lot of things, and it's never too young. I'm quoting Deborah here. It's never too young to start teaching safety. Teach your kids when they're little, when
Even
they're
in
toddlers.
yes.
Yeah, when they're toddlers, how to pick up your toys. Reason why we pick up our toys is
So you don't
because
trip and fall.
we don't want to fall on them and hurt ourselves.
Yeah.
Like,
Or have them
everybody knows
damage our
about
feet or
Legos.
something. Yeah.
Legos are great on the feet. So
I've done some of those.
yes, yes, but also when you're baby proofing and you're putting the plugs in and things like that. Well, when your older kid gets young enough or gets old enough and you get a new baby in the house, that's you're the older sibling now. Let's help baby proof. Let's think about what the baby can choke on.
Yes.
Teach them all of these things.
Teach your older siblings to be aware of that. And even I got a fear of hard candy because I almost choked to death on a piece of hard candy one time.
remember.
So yeah, I'm glad you remember that. Yes.
Yes,
I think you
remember.
had to hit me on the back.
I
But
was.
but don't give hard candy to little children because it can kill them. I just get the chewable stuff. Just be aware, and people don't think about that. Usually until some tragedy happens and there's a choking incident. But
Yes.
I'm afraid
make
of
sure you're
balloons.
older. Yeah.
Oh, I never let my kids have any
balloons.
balloons at their parties before anyone was 5 years old. I got beach balls because I'd read all these stories about the choking hazards of balloons. Yes, we love balloons. Do you want to have the helium ones way up in the ceiling where no one can
Mylar
That's
balloons.
fine. But
Right.
I don't let kids have balloons before the age of 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when something
I'd say
happens,
age of 10.
yeah,
But yeah.
15's good. They usually aren't doing anything by 15.
Some things you can avoid a lot of tragedies or a lot of emergencies just by knowing what is dangerous and making sure all of the children know what's dangerous and explaining why. That's why you don't shut your children when they say, why? Because I said so. That's a stupid answer.
Yes.
Parents, if you're saying it, please stop. That's a stupid answer. Never say because I said so. Take the time to explain. Now, if you don't have a reason, then maybe you shouldn't be saying that. Maybe whatever it is you told them to do, maybe it doesn't make any sense. So if you can
Can I have
explain
candy before dinner? No, because you will not eat your dinner. You will, and that is not nutritious.
That's not healthy, right?
That's not healthy.
Explain it.
No,
right.
You cannot have that toy in the when we're grocery shopping, or that candy, or that this, because I don't have the money for that, or it's not good for you, or it's not a very good toy and you're going to break it and be done with it.
Or we didn't come here to buy that. We came to buy something else.
We didn't come here to buy that today, and in 12 seconds you're going to want something else.
Right.
Just be a brave parent. Be willing to say no. They don't need to have every single thing that they ask for.
Right.
No, they don't. And you know what? Chances are they'll forget about it in that 12 seconds. They would have taken it and broken it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So, but to get back to, I'm not saying treat your children like they're adults, because they're not. Right. But treat them like they are intelligent.
Right. Right. Explain things on a child's level. You know what I always hated as a child? I hated it. I hated for people to talk to me like I was stupid.
Yes.
I just,
how old are you?
When I was 4 years old and people would get into that baby voice, I just want to smack them because it was so demeaning. I wanted to say, just talk to me like a normal person. I'm 4. Okay, I got sense.
Yeah.
But
and 4-year-olds should know their address, their parents'
names,
their
phone number, hopefully, if they can.
How
it's kind of hard now.
It is kind of hard because none of us can remember numbers anymore because of cell phones and everything's on. And you can tell Siri, call Barbara if you have Siri, which I don't. And so you don't remember anybody's number, but they should always know their phone number and 911. And their first and their mother's name and their father's name, first and last.
First and last name.
And if they get lost, they should be able to yell out. I would hope that my daughter would know my first and last name. Because my last name is different from my husband's last name, so they need to know their parents' names, and and say, well, what does she look like? Well, she's mommy. What's your mother's name? Mommy.
Mommy. But how many times do we hear over the loudspeaker at an event
We
or
have
at
a
the
lost
grocery
parent.
store? We have a lot. Yeah, right. We have a lost
We have a
parent.
lost parent.
And a lot of times, if the child is 2 or 3 years old, they don't know the name, so that makes it difficult. You know, when you have somebody who's old enough to speak, but they're not old enough to say the name, you really when they get old enough to speak, those are some of the first things you have to teach them how to say.
What
You
is
know,
mommy's
along with
name? You
yes.
know.
And
Mm-hmm.
on the parent side, it's like I'm learning a whole new system because now I have grandkids. It's like I did this already. Now I'm doing it again. When you go to an event with your child, uh, where it could possibly get lost, make sure that your kids dress your kids in bright colors so that you can
Yeah.
see them in a crowd.
Yeah.
Also, before
And
you
know
go
what they're
to the
wearing.
event,
Yeah. Know
take
what they're
a
wearing.
picture
Remember.
of them so that you have a current picture of
Yes.
how they look, what they're wearing. Because let me tell you something I learned even recently. When someone, even not to throw fear into this, but when someone kidnaps a child and changes their clothes, they don't change their shoes. They often don't think of that. So
Oh.
you can always have people looking at the kids' feet when your kids are missing or something and someone has done something, wrong, corruptible, kidnapping. I mean, I'm sorry we have to live in this age where we have to be aware of those things, but we do. And so take the precautions.
I want to
Right.
mention
Absolutely.
something. I want to mention something as because we're getting ready to close and we've got about 4 minutes left. But I want to mention something also because Deborah had said something about teach them a secret word or special word because I've watched these you know social experiments. And what we have to know is that sometimes if black children are lost, nobody pays any attention to them. If it's a little white child, they will get help, but people will tend to ignore black children. So that's one thing. The other thing is that sometimes someone will come up to a child and say, "Oh, your mom told me to. I'm a friend of your mom. Your mom told me to come and get you." Your child has to know the secret word, and make your child be the one who picks the word because then they will remember. Don't tell
Right.
them
Right.
something that they wouldn't remember. Say, okay, you're going to tell me what the magic word is, and you always remember. And if I have to send somebody to get you, I will make sure that person knows the magic word. And if that person
Right.
doesn't know, then I did not send them. And
Absolutely. Well, we gotta go,
and it
and
has happened. It has
right.
happened where people have been saying, "Hey, you want to go and see these puppies?" And people who says, "Oh, my kid will never go away with a stranger."
Yes, they would.
They will end up and go with a stranger, and their
Yeah.
parents are just appalled. It doesn't
Right.
take much to fool a kid.
Right. You had to talk to them about it. And Deborah says, of course, you teach them, they'll remember it if you repeat like your name and things like that.
Yes,
And
yes.
and
Exactly.
Zelda from HLN TV said, grand evening. And we thank you so much. And she says that of course, this information is saving lives. Thanks for sharing. And parents, do remember that your children, they have intelligence. You can teach them what they need to know to keep themselves safe, such as their full name. Don't get them used to a nickname. Let them know their full name. Make sure they know their full name. And
Right.
then
Oh, Deborah
she said
mentioned
also
about
what
putting
happens to putting labels on children's clothes. Only thing about that, sometimes somebody who doesn't know them can call their name.
they call their name. So
Right.
put it in their clothes.
Inside.
Put it
And she said
in
the
to
magic
where
word does work.
Yeah, put it in their
Yes.
clothes, and we all have they all have
Inside.
backpacks and things like that that have their names on it, and that's good for that kind of stuff. But just be careful about where you're displaying their names because you know people will use that. But we
Right.
should probably go.
Yeah, we've got to go. And we thank you all for joining us. Dave, Beata, thank you for joining us. And we appreciate you all. Make sure you like and share our Facebook and YouTube channels and subscribe to Three Black Moms. And until next week,
Inside.
I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Barbara. We are three Black moms. Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.